going to put on some honey supers on hives that are strong enough with bees that they need the extra room for the upcoming honey flow. To begin, you need to light up the bee smoker, which you can burn like newspaper, cardboard, grass, about anything. Now these are kind of difficult until you get used to them to get them going, because they have to start out very loosely packed to get the fire going and to get coals of the paper going in there. So I got a loose piece of paper, and then dry grass is good for getting it started also. So I'll add some dry grass, which really makes a lot of smoke. And then some paper that I've rolled up so that it has like air passages through it. Later, after it's going good, I can just wad up a piece of paper and stuff it on top each time. But if you pack it too tight to begin with, then it just doesn't get going in the first place. Getting it going really well with a lot of puffing to start with is always good. See, just leaving a little bit, you know, it starts to go out until it's really going with a good bunch of smoldering fuel in there. Okay, now I can start by seeing which hives have the most bees flying in and out to know which ones probably need the extra room. Some of them already have an extra super on top. The main hive is the bottom box that has the brood in it, the frames with the queens in and laying eggs and the brood. And you could have one box like this with a queen excluder between, or you could have a couple boxes high like this one does, because it had a more active queen that had a lot of brood in it. So we might as well check on it to start with. They don't need a lot of smoke, just a couple puffs to stun the guard bees, make them go in and eat some honey or something. Okay, now this one still has plenty of room. I can look in between and see that there's not many bees up there. So we'll go on to another hive that might need the room. Okay, I'll check this next one here. This is a hive tool. Nowadays you just find them as a pry bar in any hardware store. But years ago when I was younger, the only way you could find them was with a bee supplies company. But they're so handy for everything that now they're just sold as a little pry bar. Okay, this one, you see the bees in the middle. They're working there on making honey. They don't really need more room yet. All that, the sun shining off the honey that's fresh, and then the wax coating over here is when they cap it off when it's ready to, when they've evaporated enough moisture out of the nectar and converting it while they're converting it into honey. The bees go over the frames and they use their wings to create like a fan through the hive that evaporates out moisture. Smoker's needing more fuel because it's still basically just getting going. See, the bees seal everything together with bee propolis, which is also very healthy as a nutritional supplement to fight against colds. But it's like the bee glue, and they glue everything secure in their hive. The lid on, the frames, so that they're not loose. They make the propolis from like resin off of the plants, off of the trees and leaves and different things. And it's a real good antibiotic. It keeps the hives free of germs and sterile. As I go in between hives, I do a little bit of smoke in there so the bees don't come charging out. This has quite a bit of weight to it. It's got a fair amount of honey in it. And this next super was put underneath that one earlier when it was empty, but it's got fresh honey in it there now. And sometimes you can tell if a lot of nectar is coming in by what's called shake. You give the frame a little shake over, and if a bunch of drops of honey come out, there's a bunch of fresh nectar. I say just a drop there. Not a lot of shake in this hive. So they're bringing in honey, as you can see, that's new honey, but they're not bringing it in as quickly as they will during the what we call the honey flow, when the main honey plants really get into bloom. And in our area, it's most of the honey, that surplus that you can get from the bees, is the Himalaya blackberry and poison oak, which the poison oak starts blooming first, the Himalaya blackberry next, and the combination, they usually make a lot of honey, depending on the weather. Bees want it warm, sunny, not too hot, but not cold, and that's their best working conditions. Different plants, the temperature affects how much nectar they secrete too. This one also still has plenty of room in it. We'll check this one next. Alright, it's got a fair amount of bees, and since other hives haven't needed it more, I'll put one on this one and just add it right on top. If this super already on it was mostly full of honey because it was, you know, into the honey flow, then I would take it off, put the empty one under it, and then put it back on top. That way it'll attract the bees into the empty one more to start filling it too, but they will continue with the one they've been on and finish filling it. This one is just a single because it was a divide earlier from one of the stronger hives when it was building queen cells, and to prevent losing bees to swarming, I made a divide, which is a way to start a whole new hive. You take some of the frames of brood and bees out, put in a new box, and in this case they had queen cells, so that was a head start for the new hive to raise a queen. It's got bees in a little bit less than half of the hive now, but I'll check and make sure the queen's laying, that there's eggs and brood. Okay, there's honey in here, but no larvae or brood yet. So I'll check the next one to it. Okay, the brown is kept over brood, but I do see some little larvae in the cells. This is probably one of the queen cells that had hatched before. I'll remove that so that when the queens doesn't come along and just lay in it. And here's another one that I want to give them more room, putting a super on. And now we'll go check on the hive that was the swarm that we caught the other day, that was on another video, and see how they're doing. Okay, this is the one that we caught in the plum tree. And there's the bees busy at work. I'll pull out a couple frames and check how they're doing. If they had an old queen, they should already have start laying. If they had a virgin queen, she would need time to mate before she started laying, and that would take several days. I often take a frame that's over onto the side out first, so that I'm not squishing any bees by pulling up the frames without a lot of room that the bees are mostly on, because they'll cluster usually in the middle and then work their way out as they get more bees and get stronger. Not smoking them real heavily, but lightly. Okay, they're already got a little new nectar in here, and they're cleaning up the old frame. Bees are really hygienic. This was from a hive that died out before, maybe varroa mites, or it's hard to tell the reason sometimes. And the bees will clean all of that out of the hive and make it all nice and sterile. There's more honey that they've just put in, and there's the queen, and she's kind of shorter and smaller, so she would be a virgin queen. She'll be a little bit longer as she grows older. She's right there. I don't see any eggs or larvae, so she may not be laying yet. She may not have mated yet. And because of her size, that she's so small and all, it's not the old queen that was in the swarm, but a new virgin queen that hatched out of the queen cells when another hive built queen cells. That's the way bees repopulate. They send out a swarm and make a new hive somewhere, and there's more bees. So they've put in quite a bit of nectar. Since the bees that are in here don't have work to do of raising brood yet, more bees can go out and gather nectar to make honey. This is the frame I gave it with brood from another hive, so that they wouldn't dwindle down as much as the worker bees wear out and die off. They have some replenishing by hatching out some new bees out of the brood. And that brown colored capping is what's over brood, where the cappings on honey is a bit of a different color. It's nice to see that it has a queen, and after a while she'll be mated and start laying, and then the hive will be off to a good start.